Welcome back to Wainsider, where we bring you the most compelling stories from the world of sports entertainment. Tonight, we dive into a moment that has shaken the foundations of WWE and left the wrestling world questioning the very fabric of the Anoa'i family dynasty. It's a story of power, betrayal, and the fragile ties that bind even the most legendary families. This week, Jacob Fatu, a rising star in WWE, paid a visit to his cousin, Roman Reigns, who was recovering in the hospital after a brutal attack. And while many thought this was a simple family gesture before the high-stakes event of WrestlePalooza 2025, what unfolded during that visit was far more shocking than anyone could have anticipated. Roman Reigns has been the face of WWE for years now, leading the charge as the tribal chief of the bloodline. His reign at the top has been marked by dominance, unyielding power, and control. Roman has been untouchable, both in the ring and outside of it. He's carried the weight of his family's legacy on his shoulders, ensuring the Anoa'i name remains synonymous with success and power in the world of professional wrestling. The pressure that comes with being the tribal chief is immense, and for Roman, it has often felt like a burden that he has had to carry alone. But behind that stoic, ruthless exterior, there's a man who has always valued family above everything else. For Roman, the bloodline was not just a faction, it was his identity, his lifeblood. It was the thing that made him strong, kept him grounded, and reminded him of his place within the legacy of the Anoa'i family. His relationships with his cousins, including Jacob Fatu, have always been central to his success. Roman's rise to the top was built on the unity and loyalty of his family, each member playing their part in the grand story of the bloodline. Please like, share and subscribe for more WWE content. Jacob Fatu, a name that has been gaining momentum within WWE, has long been seen as one of the most gifted and powerful athletes to come from the Anoa'i lineage. Known for his raw strength, intensity, and unrelenting drive, Jacob was poised to be the next big thing in WWE. His talent was undeniable, and many saw him as a natural successor to Roman's throne. Yet, there has always been a quiet undercurrent of tension between the two. Both men were raised with the same expectations, the same sense of duty, and the same desire to prove themselves worthy of the family name. But in the shadows of Roman's dominance, Jacob had to contend with his own feelings of resentment, feelings that would, over time, begin to boil to the surface. The tension between Roman and Jacob was not something that was ever openly discussed. It wasn't the kind of issue that could be resolved with a simple conversation or a handshake. It was deeper, more complex, and it had been brewing for years. Jacob, despite his immense talent, had always played second fiddle to Roman in the eyes of the WWE universe. Roman was the one who was at the top, the one who was carrying the family legacy forward. Jacob, despite his own accomplishments, was still seen as a shadow, a younger cousin living in Roman's shadow. That is, until the day everything changed. That day came when Roman found himself on the receiving end of a brutal attack, an assault so severe that it left him hospitalized just days before WrestlePalooza 2025. The details of the attack remain a mystery, but it's clear that whoever was behind it had one goal in mind: to break Roman, to shake his confidence, and to send a message to the entire bloodline. The nature of the attack was calculated, cold, and personal. Roman, the unshakable tribal chief, was vulnerable. And in that moment of weakness, Jacob Fatu, his cousin, paid him a visit. The hospital room was eerily quiet as Jacob entered, the familiar beeping of machines providing an unsettling soundtrack to the otherwise tense atmosphere. Jacob's expression was unreadable as he stepped into the room, standing for a moment at the threshold. His eyes met Roman's, who, despite the injury, sat upright in his bed, a shadow of his former self. For a moment, there was no conversation, just a long, lingering silence that seemed to speak volumes. The two cousins had always shared a deep bond, but in that moment, there was a palpable distance between them, an unspoken tension hanging in the air. Roman's eyes, usually filled with the fire of a champion, were now filled with uncertainty and vulnerability. He had always been the one in control, the one who led his family with an iron fist. But now, lying in that hospital bed, he was just another man, his power stripped away. Jacob's gaze lingered on his cousin, And for a moment, it was clear that he saw something different in Roman, something that the WWE Universe had never witnessed. Was this a man